Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fabric Tech Talk Fridays. I'm your host, Patrick LeBlanc, and today we're going to learn about Spark pools and notebooks. I have someone here to talk to us about this use. Before we get into this, why don't you tell the people who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Just Blindbaek. I'm from Denmark. I'm a data platform MVP and have been part of this Fabric journey for the last 3 years and have been kind of pushed into Spark because I have been a SQL developer myself early on. So understanding this Spark thing and how that actually work with capacity, I have had trouble with myself, and I also had trouble with it or heard and talked with people that it actually is something that confused people. So that is why we will have this talk today.
Yeah. And so Spark, when I think about, I started in SQL Server too, just like you, right? We were in SQL Server, we got these cores, we got processors and memory. But Spark's, especially running it the way we run it in Fabric, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, it is different, and I have a slide for that because Fabric, that is serverless. That is that is what Microsoft tell us, right? And then we have this platform as a service thing, but sorry, software as a service with Fabric. But Spark is actually a platform as a service because it is dedicated hardware that we get provisioned when we run our notebooks. So it's different, like a warehouse where it's just pure serverless.
And so when I go to run my notebooks, they connect to a Spark session, correct? They
Yeah,
connect.
exactly. They connect to a Spark session, and
Mhm.
there you have the concept around driver nodes and executors node, because you are actually not just getting one VM, you're getting multiple VMs, so multiple drivers, and all of those run uh, on and consumes vCores.
Ah. And so the vCore is where it gets interesting because you have a certain amount of vCores, a notebook uses a certain amount of vCores, and this is where we run into those challenges, right?
Exactly. And we also have this really good concept around this default startup pools when we start running notebooks. And with a default startup pool, we get one driver node, and 1 to 10 worker nodes, and all of those consume in the medium size startup pool 8 vCores. So that means that we will use 16 vCores at the minimum when we are using a default startup pool, as this
Yeah.
example also shows.
Yeah, and so this really comes into play when we start picking out our capacities and how many notebooks we can run and things like that.
Yeah, and that is the thing, because different size of capacities comes with different number of CUs. That's formula is actually very easy, because if we have an F4, we have eight four capacity units. But with one capacity unit, we get two Spark vCores. So with an F4, we have then 8 vCores. But as we saw in the last slide, that we will actually need 16 vCores to start and run a starter pool. So then you might ask, yeah, then we need at least an F8 to run a
Yes.
notebook
Yeah.
with a starter
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah. Do we can we not use an F2 at all?
Yeah, that is the thing, right? But then it's actually a really clever thing for Microsoft, because we have this concept around birthing. So we actually get more than we pay for. So we get a birth factor of 3. So if we have an F4, we will actually get 12 capacity units, which then
Uh,
translate to 24 vCores.
yeah.
Uh,
But even with that though, right? And so I think we're gonna look at this a little little later, but I still could run into problems when I'm using an F2 if there's multiple people trying to run notebooks against my
Oh,
pool.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the Spark pools you're getting is your personal Spark compute. So if I use the 16 vCores, then there's nothing left on a smaller capacity like an F2 and F8. And Microsoft also did some clever thing around the F2, because if you only had the birth factor of 3, then we didn't have enough vCores to run the starter pool. So there we get a 5 times birth multiplier.
Yeah. All right.
So with that, let's look at an example. So developer comes in, then attaches a notebook to a session, and then we will eat, you can say so, of the vCores available, 24 vCores. So we will get 8 for both the driver and then 8 for the worker, and then use these 16 vCores. So let's look into an example of how that will work in practice.
Okay.
I'm in there. Let's go in here, and then I have, this is not a notebook doing anything, but I will just go and run the cell. And with that, we will start and get this allocated. So
Now, how many vCores is this notebook taking up right now?
This vCore is then taking up these 16 vCores.
Got it. Okay.
And,
I just want everybody to
it's-
understand. I just want everybody to understand what's going on. All right. So I took up 16
Yeah,
vCores.
sure.
And what
16
capacity?
vCores.
Sorry.
On an F4 of
On an
F4
F4.
capacity,
Okay. Yep.
where we have these 24 vCores because of the birth thing and because the double multiplier from the so when I go in now and say, now I have used 16 vCores.
Yep.
So if I go in and then try to start the next notebook, oh no, then we get this error.
And that's because we don't have enough vCores, right? We don't have enough vCores available to start this one. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly.
I think we get it. It's simple math.
Yeah.
Right?
It is simple math. Now I just go in and then also stop the session. This is also a good thing, because when I stop them, then I will actually free up so that I can use them in another session. That is
Got
also a little trick for you to go in and actually stop them again. Let me see. So this was the example we just covered. One developer comes in and then uses these 16 vCores out of the 24 vCores. But then when I try to start the second one, then it doesn't work. So what can we then do? So how can we actually optimize it? And that's a trick. And this is a trick that not many people know about. So let's look into this. We can actually go ahead and configure what is called a single node Spark pool. And a single node Spark pool we can set up by setting the autoscale to 1 and 1, so limited to 1 as the maximum nodes.
So it's like we're governing how much resources that a particular notebook will take when I try to execute that notebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is something we do in the capacity setting. So let's take a look at that. So in my workspace, I have here, then we have all this many workspace settings, and down here under the data engineering, that is where we have the Spark settings that we can set up. And in here, we have this configuration for the default starter pool. And if you don't change anything, it will say starter pool. But I can actually go in and change it. So I can go in here. And in here, you see there's not much I can change. I cannot change the node size. Medium, that is the size, because Microsoft have pre-hydrated all these VMs that is ready for us. That's because this is why they're starting up so fast. And we can get them allocated. But one thing we can, that is going in and saying, okay, I only want to have 1 autoscale. Then I actually disable autoscale. So going in and then saving this change. Then I go in, and for this to work, I also need to just start up the notebooks again. So going in here with the notebook one more time. If I go up now here, now we can see here under it is limited to 1. And with that, then I can go ahead and start this one and go in. And in the last example, as we saw, then this wouldn't work. Now we can see that now we are actually able to start up also the second notebooks. Now it's started up, both the 1 and the 2.
Yep. So, but this is making me think though. So before it would auto scale. I would get all the cores I need based on the based on bursting. But now I'm limiting the amount of resources, which could affect the performance of my notebook, right?
Yeah. That's a really valid point. Patrick, because we have limited available cores now, because we are having smaller compute available to us.
Yeah.
So now, if I attach all of those, then I can potentially run into some trouble. So that,
Yeah.
of course, something you need to bear in mind. But for my experience, not many people are
Yeah. No.
using petabytes of data. You can still absolutely fine run big workloads on these single node Spark pools.
I was doing a demo. I was building out something the other day, and I had like, I think it was like 2 billion rows, and on the starter pool, I did not configure it down to 1-in-1, but it ran fine. There was no, I haven't ran into any problems yet using these
No,
starter
no, no.
pools. So yeah,
No, me
yeah,
neither. Me neither.
yeah,
You
yeah.
really have to have really big data volume. So this single node starter pool is actually a really good way, because then you can actually run up to 4 active session on an F4 capacity. Yeah, we can actually do more to this. So the example we saw before, then we had one developer taking up 4 vCores there, and then the developer started up another pool and then took the next 8 vCores there. That was the example we just saw before. And then we had but we can actually go in and optimize decision sharing also, because with the example before, we had a whole cluster, or it
Yes.
was a small cluster for each of the notebooks. But couldn't it be nice that we can actually run the notebooks on the
Yeah.
same?
Yeah. That's
And
where I was going. That's exactly where I was going. It's like, why can't we just share these resources? Yeah.
exactly. And that is where high concurrency mode comes in, because when we just started, like I did before, we start what is called a standard mode. But with high concurrency, we have the ability to actually attach multiple notebooks to the same session. So in that example, if I have 2 notebooks, then I can attach one and then only use these 8 vCores there, and then I can attach the next second one also on the same starter pool, and then still have 16 vCores left for other developers on this small F4 capacity.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So
That's amazing.
that is,
So how do we,
that's really an optimizer. Yeah, how
can
do
can
we?
you can you show us how we start these? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going in now and then stopping these sessions. So up, instead of just running, that's probably the easiest one, run the first cell. But when you're
Yeah.
running the first cell, it will automatically take. So I need to do something different. I need to go up here and then say, now I want this high concurrency session
Oh,
instead of this standard session. So
yep.
going up here, I can then start this, and it's not taking any longer. It's the same compute I will get. For me, it could be nice if that could be default.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will come at some point.
Yeah.
Because now when I go
Oh,
to Spark, my notebook number 2,
yeah.
then I
And then
have
you
the
just
ability
start it.
to, now instead of starting a new session, I can just attach it as it says here,
Yeah.
because I already have a high concurrency session. And with that, I not using any more compute, and also it's much faster because I don't need to start up a whole
It's already
new
started.
cluster,
Yeah,
because
because it's already
it's already
started, and I
started.
just yeah, I can just reuse and reuse. Just like if my SQL Server is running, right? That's how I just grab me a connection to my SQL Server and keep going. So I just grab a connection to an already started pool, and I just reuse those resources. There's so many
Exactly.
things, right? There's so many
Yeah.
knobs and switches inside of Fabric. If you don't go tinker around, it's hard to find, all these things. But videos like this and people like you help us find all this
Yeah.
great content. Yeah. So
And
is that it?
there's a little limitation on this, that you
Yep.
can maximum attach 5 notebooks
Got
to a
it.
high concurrencies. As of now, I heard Microsoft is working on extending that to a higher number. And again, as you said before, then you also need to pay attention, because I'm running many notebooks on the same cluster. Then I can also potentially run into some performance trouble.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for uh taking the time. So we got 3 takeaways. We got 3 takeaways.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we actually covered here today together was how the Spark session consumed capacity, and then how we could optimize it with this pool configuration, and also optimize it with session sharing, this high concurrency mode. And if you want to learn more, a bit more, then I also have some blog poster on this topic.
or click the QR code. Click the QR code. It'll take you right there, right? All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today and teach us all about, these Spark pools and how we can maximize how many people can use a capacity, or maximize how many people can use a particular session in Spark. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come hang out with us today. If you have any questions, comments, you know what to do. Post in the comments below. If it's your first time visiting the Fabric YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, from Muse, Microsoft, and this guy, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit that like button.
If this is your first time visiting the Microsoft Fabric YouTube channel, be sure to smash that subscribe button.
Drop a comment below on what you would like to see on the future episodes of Fabric Tech Talk Fridays.
That's it for today. See you all next Friday for another deep dive in the Microsoft Fabric.